Hi, I'm Wendy Murdoch. I'm an international riding clinician and instructor. I'm the author of a number of horse books and DVDs to help you ride better. In this second part of a 4-part series, I'm going to talk about heels down because there's so many myths and mysteries in riding that people don't understand. And as the student, we try really, really hard to accomplish what we want to do, but we don't have all the information to be successful. And that can be so frustrating because you think you're doing your absolute best and you don't seem to get the results you're supposed to have. I personally have this experience because in 1984, a horse rolled over me and punched my femur through my hip socket. I was sent out of the hospital after 3 weeks with no physical therapy, and I had to completely rehabilitate myself. Not only did I have to rehabilitate myself just to walk, I had to teach myself how to ride all over again. And the people I was working with didn't really help me understand how to use this body that had been really badly damaged. So in my struggles and in my efforts, I met a lot of really talented people. Linda Tellington-Jones, Sally Swift, Dr. Joyce Harmon, Dr. Hillary Clayton, and many more. And I've taken their information and I've put it together to not only help myself ride better, but to show my students how to be successful. Riding is supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be so hard. But we have to have the right information in order to understand and be able to accomplish what we're supposed to do. And this is where I find in so many ways people are given instruction that really doesn't help them be successful. I had a student recently, and she had an amputation from the knee down. She was a lovely kid. She's about 11 years old. And her parents had taken her and gotten her a riding leg so that she could ride really well. And when I went to teach her, they told me about how she couldn't get her heel down anymore because the riding leg couldn't do it. And I said, it doesn't need to be any lower. And this is one of the myths that we don't understand correctly. What heels down really means and how we're supposed to use that to be secure in the saddle. And when I watched this little girl ride and I just gave her a little bit more information so that she thought about her thigh instead of her foot and didn't worry about her heel, she rode beautifully. And I know that she's going to be successful and really enjoy her riding. And so it doesn't matter if you're an older adult or a young child, when we have the right information about the function of our body and how to use that in relation to the horse, not only can we have the joy that we're looking for, but it can be effortless and easy. And that's what I want it to be for everyone. It's not that hard if we have the right information. And so I hope that you find that this little exercise we're going to do is help you start to understand that with the right information, you too can make your riding effortless. So one of the many misconceptions that I find so many riders have is the understanding of what heels down really is all about. And we think we have to have our heel down at all costs and as deep as possible. But so often that is going to cause other problems. So I have a student here today, and she's going to help us in the mounted part. But first, I'd just like to ask you, Roberta, tell me about what you've been told about heels down.
Oh, heels down about 5,000 times, no matter what teacher I had.
And what was the reason for it? What were they trying to accomplish?
They always told me that was my center of gravity. And that's what kept me in the saddle.
The heels down kept you in the saddle?
That's what they said.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is a little exercise where you can feel the different positions on me. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move to the saddle so that we can show you that in the saddle.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to turn this way, and I'm going to take a slight step position. Okay, and what I want you to do is just take your hand and put it on my lower back. Okay, and now I'm going to put my heel down, and I'm really going to brace my heel down. Okay, now go ahead and push on me. And what happens? You can push me right over, right?
Easily.
And that's because my heel becomes the pivot point around which I move. Okay, so it didn't make me any more secure, did it? It made me really insecure. If I round over that heel and I brace really hard, push again, push, and you can push me over my heel again, right? Okay, so just having my heel as deep as possible isn't going to make me secure. In so many cases, it makes me more insecure. So that's one of the myths, that our heels down at all costs is going to make us secure. Instead of that, Roberta, put your hand on my back, and I'm going to flatten my back. And feel, as soon as I did that, can you feel where my weight went? Yeah, so now keep your hand there and close your eyes, and I'm going to hollow and feel where my weight goes. Forward, exactly. And if I lengthen my lower back, where did my weight go? And you can push as hard as you like now. Push, 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 push. and I'm totally secure. So I can still move the front of my foot, I can raise the front of my foot, but I haven't braced my heel, okay? So heels down really begins in the lower back, not in the foot. And when I lengthen my lower back, it puts my weight in my heel, not pressure. And this is the significant and important piece about heels down. It's about having your weight sink through your heel so that your leg joints, your hip, knee, and ankle stay movable, not bracing against the stirrup, which creates a pivot point and makes you extremely insecure without having to use a lot of grip and a lot of effort. And I want my riders to ride in an effortless and easy way where they're not feeling that strain and their joints can function in the way they're designed and they can enjoy that ride with their horse and everybody's happier. So we're going to take that into the saddle with Roberta here so that you can see how this works up on the horse. So Roberta, this is your typical heels down position, right? The one you've been talking about? All right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull on your reins and see how secure you are in this position, okay? So you hold out to your reins, and I'm just going to take all of them. And you notice, I mean, it's super easy for me. Now, I'm not sure, were you faking that? Or all right, well, just try a little harder, like really.
Resist a little bit?
Yeah, resist a little bit, okay? And I can still pivot you right over your feet. And see, this is what I'm talking about, is that when we go to an extreme here, we block the other joints and we actually create a lever and then we pivot right over that lever, okay? So you remember the exercise I showed you? Okay, great. So just let the leg soften a little bit, scoot forward in your saddle a tiny bit. Remember what you felt when you had your hand on my back? It felt solid, right? So now just breathe into my hand a little bit. Nice, and so now when I push, you're really solid, right? And notice that your leg has just come back much more underneath you, and the heel is just softly down, but not braced. Yes. I'm just going to check, nice, and I can move all your joints right now, okay? Take a hold of your reins, okay? And when I pull this time, who moves? You thought you were going to move, didn't you? I saw you. You were like, oh no, I got to be ready. Yeah, because when you're not braced against the stirrup, as I pull, I literally pull you into the horse and then I move the horse. You want to do it again? Yes. Okay. So just think of my hand on your back and leave the legs under you. Okay. And when I pull, keep the elbow. There you go. I pull the horse, right? Just like that. Nice. Okay. Now just push your heels down again, back to the old place. And feel there's nothing you can do to stop me. So if this was really the anchor that they all told you it was, it should have stopped me from pulling you out of the saddle. And so here we are with understanding the difference between the instruction and the myth and the mystery of heels down. It's really not about bracing your heel. It's about having the joints available and the back solid so that the weight falls through the heel. And then when I pull on the horse, on the reins, I pull the rider into the saddle. And that means that if the horse pulls on you, instead of pulling you out of the saddle, he's going to pull you in and basically pull against himself. And they'll give that up pretty quick once they realize you're secure. So that's just one of the things that that's really important for riders to understand in order to really enjoy their horse and have a nice ride, yeah. So to sum up what we've done so far, we've talked about the myth of heels down and the mystery of how to get it accomplished. And I have Ned here, he's my little skeleton that helps me teach. So just to kind of review, if we brace the heel down hard against the stirrup, what it's going to do is stiffen the knee and then push back up into the hip joint. And that's going to hollow the back and pitch your head forward. And so now if I pull on your reins, it's going to be so easy for me to pivot you right over your foot. And really what the whole point of heels down is to anchor your weight. So we have to think about the weight in the heel rather than the pressure against the stirrup. To get that weight in your heel, it comes from that flat lower back. So just by lengthening your back and letting the weight sink back and down through the heel, you're going to be a lot more secure in the saddle. And you could see that when I pulled on the reins, Roberta was really solid. And that's what we're looking for. We want you to be safe and secure so that you can have a good time and ride with ease. In the next segment, we're going to look at something that you can do off your horse to help improve your riding. A long time ago, I wrote an article called The Not So Frequent Rider. It's been one of my most popular articles because it addresses the fact that so many of us don't have the chance to ride as often as we'd like. And just because you can't ride every day doesn't mean your riding can't improve. And that's where these unmounted exercises can be so useful so that you can practice things off your horse to improve your riding in the precious time you have to ride. They're simple and easy. It doesn't take a lot of time, and you can do that sitting in your car with some of them, or when you're at a really boring dinner party, or maybe at a business meeting and you'd rather be riding. So in that next segment, we're going to show you something you can do to make your riding better, and you might even find it makes other parts of your life even more enjoyable. So keep an eye out for the next segment, and in the meantime, I'd love to hear from you. Please tell me the myth or mystery that you've been struggling with in your riding by leaving a comment below.